Welcome back to the channel where change really can change your life. And today we are diving deep into one of the most intriguing, underappreciated, and surprisingly valuable coins in modern numismatics, the 2003 Lincoln 1-cent coin, a humble piece of copper-plated zinc that has been discovered to be worth up to $133 or more thanks to a wide array of rare minting mistakes, hidden errors, die anomalies, transitional features, and nearly impossible to find combinations that transform what seems like a common coin into a highly sought-after collectible worth big money to the right collector. And if you've ever casually glanced at a 2003 penny and tossed it aside thinking it's worthless, this episode will open your eyes to how this tiny piece of metal can pack a serious punch in the world of coin collecting. Because the 2003 penny, struck during a period of high production and rapid die wear, ended up being the perfect storm for creating countless die varieties, striking errors, and bizarre anomalies that collectors hunt feverishly for. And the story starts with the fact that in 2003, both the Philadelphia and Denver mints were working with worn-out dies that were pushed well beyond their optimal usage, and when dies begin to degrade, a whole host of unpredictable results start to appear on coins such as die cracks, cuds, chips, clashes, and doubling, and these are precisely the types of characteristics that make a 2003 penny potentially worth far more than 1 cent, and among the most prominent errors that have driven up the value of the 2003 Lincoln cent is the die clash error, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leading to the design elements from one die getting transferred onto the other, and when these corrupted dies go on to strike actual coins, the resulting pieces show eerie ghost-like impressions from the opposite side, such as parts of the Lincoln Memorial appearing behind Lincoln's head or vice versa. And these types of errors, especially when clean and dramatic, command major premiums on the collector's market. And that's only the beginning, because the 2003 penny is also known for some absolutely stunning examples of misaligned dies, off-center strikes, and broad-struck coins, where either the obverse or reverse die shifts slightly out of place during striking, causing the entire design to be skewed or the coin to be struck without its retaining collar, leading to an abnormally wide, flat appearance with stretched lettering and rim anomalies. And these kinds of errors are instantly recognizable even to casual observers, and when found with the date 2003 and in excellent condition, they can be worth dozens or even hundreds of dollars each. But what truly sets some 2003 pennies apart is the presence of repunched mint marks, especially from the Denver mint, where the D mint mark was still hand-punched into the working dies until 1989, but remnants of that practice remained in the form of secondary impressions or improperly punched letters on later coins due to hubbing errors and die maintenance practices, and some 2003 D cents show strong signs of doubled or repunched D mint marks with visible separation or shadowing that collectors love to chase after. And while RPMs from this year aren't as well documented as earlier decades, when found they can command substantial premiums, especially in uncirculated grades. And let's not forget the highly collectible double die obverses, which occur when the working die itself is created with a slight shift in design alignment between hubbing passes. And although the 2003 penny is not known for a major class I double die like the famous 1955 or 1969 cent, minor double dies do exist on the date, the Liberty inscription, and the motto "I in God we trust," especially in Philadelphia struck coins where quality control was occasionally looser during high-speed production runs, and these minor double dies, when verified and attributed, add value particularly when combined with other errors such as die cracks or color anomalies. And speaking of color, the copper plating process used for zinc cents during this period was not always consistent, and 2003 cents with improper bonding or thin plating sometimes show exposed zinc on the surface, leading to what is called wood grain toning or uneven coloration, which, while not an error in the traditional sense, becomes a visual anomaly that collectors pay attention to, especially if the coin also has retained its full original luster and hasn't been cleaned or damaged. And then there's the realm of off-metal strikes, where a coin intended to be struck on a normal zinc cent planchet is accidentally struck on a planchet intended for another denomination or even a foreign coin. And while rare, Such 2003 off-metal cents have been found struck on dime planches, resulting in thinner, lighter, and slightly undersized coins with incomplete rims and portions of the design cut off, and these are incredibly valuable when authenticated, often selling for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, and the same goes for 2003 cents that are double struck, meaning they were struck twice by the dies with a shift in position, leaving a duplicate and overlapping image of Lincoln's profile or the memorial reverse, creating a truly dramatic and rare piece that immediately captures the attention of era collectors. And then we enter the fascinating world of die breaks and cuds, which are especially prevalent on 2003 cents because of worn die usage, and these occur when a piece of the die breaks off entirely, resulting in a raised blob of metal on the coin, often appearing on the rim or obliterating part of the lettering such as the word Liberty or the date. And these cuds come in all shapes and sizes, with large, clean, round cuds being especially valuable, while smaller die chips and cracks add flair and variety to otherwise normal-looking coins, and collectors have catalogued dozens of such varieties on 2003 cents, including cracks running through Lincoln's head, chips inside the letters of the motto, and blobs emerging from the base of the bust, all of which make each coin unique and potentially worth far more than face value. And then there's the class of strike-through errors, where some foreign object or substance, grease, cloth fibers, bits of wire, or even other coins, gets between the dies and the planchette at the moment of striking, resulting in missing design elements or strange imprints in the fields of the coin. And 2003 pennies struck through grease often show missing letters, weakly struck areas, or completely absent mint marks, leading collectors to nickname them ghost mint mark varieties or missing date coins, depending on severity. And these kinds of strike-throughs, when dramatic and paired with other flaws, can make a seemingly worthless coin suddenly worth big money to the right buyer. And all of these anomalies take on even greater importance when they occur on coins that are in brilliant uncirculated condition, especially those that grade MS65 red or higher from grading services like PCGS or NGC. And while most 2003 cents are found in circulated condition with scratches, discoloration, and wear, a pristine error example from this year can leap from being a novelty to a true investment-grade collectible. And some of these coins, even without major name recognition errors, have sold for $100 to $200 in online auctions when collectors identify unusual combinations of strike error, die clash, and color toning all wrapped into one piece. And that's what makes the 2003 penny so exciting. It's not just one major error that makes this year special, but rather the sheer number and variety of possible anomalies, each with its own appeal and value range, that creates a playground for modern coin hunters, and anyone with a good eye, a magnifying glass, and a bit of patience might just find one of these hidden gems in pocket change, a roll of pennies, or an old coin jar gathering dust. And in a world where inflation eats away at every dollar, the idea that a single 2003 penny might be worth $133 or more is both inspiring and very real. And if you happen to find a 2003 cent with multiple errors, like a double strike combined with a cud, or a struck-through error on a close AM reverse, yes, 2003 had some reverse design spacing quirks too, though not to the extent of the famous 1992 close AM. It's not out of the realm of possibility for the coin to reach even higher prices, especially if it has good provenance, documentation, or is the only known example of its kind. And with so many millions of 2003 cents struck, there are likely still rare variants waiting to be found, hiding in plain sight among billions of common examples. And this is exactly why coin collectors obsess over these details and why the 2003 penny, despite being overshadowed by more famous coins from other years, is finally gaining recognition as a hotbed of error variety and hidden value. And with more collectors joining the hunt every year and error coin prices continuing to climb, now is the perfect time to take a closer look at your change, inspect your rolls. Next, 1978 D1 cent USA coin, where we dig deep into the amazing stories behind coins you may have handled countless times without knowing just how valuable they really are. And today we are diving into the remarkable and often underestimated 1978 D Lincoln 1-cent coin, a penny that on the surface appears like any ordinary coin minted in Denver that year, but which, upon closer examination, holds within it a world of astonishing mint errors, striking anomalies, die varieties, and unique physical flaws that have propelled certain specimens to fetch up to $150 or more among collectors and numismatic enthusiasts, and it's precisely this blend of historical context, mechanical mishap, and visual oddity that transforms a copper coin worth merely 1 cent in commerce into a sought-after item in the numismatic market. And it all begins with understanding the minting process and how even the most minor flaw during production can lead to major value under the right circumstances, especially in a year like 1978 when over 4.2 billion Lincoln cents were struck at the Denver Mint alone. And while that astronomical mintage number might suggest that rarity is unlikely, it's that very volume of coins being rushed into circulation that created the perfect environment for a spectrum of errors, slip-ups, and die deterioration that passed unnoticed through quality control and made their way into the hands of the public. And those coins with errors, when preserved and identified, can yield massive premiums, beginning with one of the most dramatic types, off-center strikes, where the coin blank, or planchette, is not properly aligned with the dies when struck, resulting in coins that have part of their design missing and a crescent of blank surface showing. And collectors particularly value examples with 15% to 60% off-centering when the date is still visible, because the combination of visible diagnostics and dramatic misalignment makes for an eye-catching and verifiable error, and the 1978 D penny is known for such off-center specimens, some of which were misstruck so severely that Lincoln's bust is cut in half, yet the date and mint mark remain visible, thereby increasing value and collectability. And then there are broad-struck errors which occur when the collar die fails to restrain the coin during striking, allowing the metal to expand beyond its usual diameter and producing a coin with a stretched, distorted look while keeping the design centered, and these are particularly appealing when the detail remains sharp, giving the coin a surreal yet well-defined appearance that makes it stand out in any era collection. And some 1978 D broad-struck cents have sold for over $100 in high grade simply because they offer a visually stunning reminder of how precision can break down at high speeds in the coining process. And perhaps even more captivating are examples of die clashes, an error that occurs when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchette between them, imprinting ghost-like images of the reverse on the obverse die and vice versa, and then transferring these unintended designs onto subsequent coins. And in the case of the 1978 D penny, die clash examples can result in fascinating hybrids where Lincoln's jacket appears to be overlain with the Lincoln Memorial's columns, or where phantom elements like E pluribus unum are faintly etched across the fields of the obverse, and collectors prize these for their unusual beauty and mechanical curiosity. And another major contributor to value is the occurrence of doubled dies, and while the most dramatic examples from other years, such as the 1955 and 1969 S doubled dies, are more widely known, 1978 D also has minor to moderate doubled die varieties that involve doubling on liberty, the motto "I in God we trust," or even the date, and when viewed under magnification, these doubled elements can show clear separation and notching, adding significant appeal for variety specialists, and coins with such doubling, especially when in higher grades, have been documented to sell for $50 to $150 depending on eye appeal and preservation. And speaking of preservation, condition is everything in numismatics, and a 1978 D-era penny in poor shape might only command a few dollars, but in MS-65 red condition with full mint luster, that same era could be valued well into the triple digits, which is why coin grading plays such a vital role in market valuation. And for the 1978 D penny, high-grade era coins are particularly prized because they demonstrate that the error occurred early in the die's life when strike quality was still optimal. And continuing down the list of valuable mistakes are repunched mint marks, or RPMs, a vestige of an era when mint marks were manually punched into working dies. And on the 1978 D cent, RPMs are known to exist where a secondary D is partially visible above, below, or beside the primary mint mark, creating a shadow-like effect that becomes clearer under magnification. And because these are distinct from machine doubling and are an artifact of the manual process, they command significant interest from die variety hunters and Lincoln scent specialists. And then we find die breaks and die chips, both of which are the result of metal fatigue or fracturing in the dies that produce raised blobs or spikes on the coin's surface as metal flows into the cracks. And in the 1978 D series, prominent die breaks can appear on Lincoln's head, beard, or jacket, while chips near his eye or nose have earned nicknames like Crying Lincoln or Zombie Lincoln, which in turn boost collector interest. And dramatic die breaks that extend from the rim into the design are sometimes called cuds and can drastically increase the coin's value, especially when they obscure key elements like lettering or create a novel look. And struck-through errors are yet another category where the coin gains uniqueness and value, and these happen when foreign material, be it grease, string, cloth fibers, or even small bits of metal, gets between the die and the planchette during striking, leaving behind impressions, holes, or voids that give the coin a one-of-a-kind appearance. And examples from 1978 D include coins where the motto or date is partially obliterated due to grease-filled dies, or where fibers left behind textures that look like Lincoln has vertical lines running across his face. And the rarity and oddity of these errors make them desirable, especially when the foreign object left a clearly defined impression. And other errors that enhance the 1978 D scent's allure include coins struck on defective planches, such as clipped planches where a crescent-shaped chunk is missing due to a misfeed in the blanking press, or lamination errors where the surface of the coin flakes or peels due to impurities in the metal mix. And both of these error types are dramatic and add considerable value when they are large and visible, and even more so when they occur on an otherwise high-grade specimen. And let's not forget transitional errors or planchette anomalies, although rare, which involve the wrong metal composition or planchette weight. And while 1978 wasn't a transition year in terms of composition like 1982, it is still possible to find planches that were improperly annealed or coins struck on foreign or undersized planches, leading to underweight coins or coins with odd coloration. And when verified by weight and diagnostic analysis, these anomalies can bring substantial premiums from collectors interested in minting mishaps beyond the standard scope. And in addition to the individual errors, some collectors seek out progression pieces, where a particular error gets worse over time as the die continues to strike coins. And this is especially true for die cracks or breaks, where collecting the sequence of a crack growing into a full cud can be both educational and highly collectible. And full progression sets for 1978 D are rare, but occasionally surface in hoards or roll finds. And since the 1978 D penny was part of an era when coin collecting was booming in the US, many of these error types were pulled from circulation early by observant collectors and preserved in good condition. But many more are still sitting unnoticed in jars, drawers, and piggy banks, waiting to be discovered by someone with a keen eye and a magnifier. And when you combine the potential for dramatic visual errors, historical minting methods that allow for RPMs and doubled dies, physical anomalies like die chips and cuds, and even rare mechanical failures like off-center strikes and broad strikes, you get a recipe for a coin that is far more than a simple piece of copper. It becomes a miniature time capsule of production history and an artistic mistake that transforms into a collector's prize. Last 1992 D1 cent USA coin, where we reveal how ordinary coins can hide extraordinary secrets. And today we are going to dive deep into the incredibly mysterious, highly valuable, and absolutely fascinating story of the 1992 D Lincoln 1 cent coin, a coin that has stunned collectors, shocked the numismatic world, and reached unbelievable heights in value, in some cases being valued as much as $65 million due to a perfect storm of rare minting mistakes, elusive errors, and almost mythical die varieties that make this particular penny not just a piece of currency but a true piece of history wrapped in a copper-plated zinc shell. And while most people might overlook a penny dated 1992 with the Denver mint mark thinking it's just another in the endless sea of cents that circulated that year, those who know what to look for understand that this particular year and mint holds one of the rarest and most desirable Lincoln cent varieties ever discovered. And it all begins with a subtle but powerful anomaly known as the close AM reverse variety, which in 1992 was not meant to exist for circulation coins, as the standard reverse design had a noticeable space between the letters A and M in the word America. But due to a transitional die error, some coins intended for the 1993 design were mistakenly paired with 1992 dated obverse dies and struck before anyone at the mint noticed the mismatch, leading to a handful of 1992 D close AM cents entering circulation. And it's this error, so small that it can be missed without a magnifying glass, that makes all the difference in the world, because the presence of the close AM design on a 1992 D cent meant that a prototype or pre-production reverse die was used unintentionally in the Denver Mint, a mistake so rare that only a few confirmed examples exist today, and this rarity has elevated the 1992 D close AM cent into the stratosphere of value, with high-grade examples commanding staggering prices at auctions. And it's not just the close AM reverse that contributes to the value, but also the astonishing state of preservation found in some of these coins, with full red coloration, razor-sharp details, and no distracting marks, pushing mint state examples into a league of their own. And to truly appreciate how rare this is, consider that the US Mint struck over 4.6 billion Lincoln cents at the Denver Mint in 1992 alone, yet only a microscopic number of those feature the close AM variety, making them the definition of a needle in a haystack. And that's just one part of the story, because in addition to the close AM reverse, collectors have discovered 1992 D Lincoln cents with dramatic and eye-catching die clashes, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchette in place, transferring parts of each design onto the opposing die and resulting in ghost-like images that appear on the struck coins, such as partial impressions of the Lincoln Memorial on Lincoln's face or the outline of his bust appearing in the memorial columns. And these errors, especially when found in combination with the close AM variety, add to the desirability and perceived mystique of the coin, driving its value into the millions among elite collectors. And then there are repunched mint marks, or RPMs, which occurred during the period when mint marks were still hand-punched into the working dies, and certain 1992 D cents show clear signs of multiple impressions of the D mint mark, with strong doubling that is visible under magnification. And while RPMs on their own are interesting, when paired with other errors like die cracks, die chips, and even minor doubled dies, they contribute to an overall profile of a coin that defied the odds at every step of production. And speaking of doubled dies, there are 1992 D cents that exhibit minor doubling on the date, the motto "I in God we trust," and even parts of Liberty, which, although not as dramatic as some of the more famous doubled dies like the 1955 or 1969 cents, still provide substantial premiums when found in high grade, especially when combined with other anomalies. And then we come to the fascinating world of die deterioration and progression, where a die begins to wear down or crack due to extensive use, resulting in coins that feature raised lines or blobs known as die cracks, die chips, and cuds. And 1992 D cents have been found with large die breaks that extend from Lincoln's head to the rim, or with enormous chips on the letters of Liberty or the date, sometimes obscuring entire numbers or creating the illusion of a new variety altogether. And while these types of errors can occur on any coin, the appeal of finding such a dramatic die state on a coin that also has the close AM reverse or another major anomaly multiplies the value exponentially. And we can't forget about struck-through errors, which occur when foreign material, grease, fibers, pieces of wire, or even other coin fragments, come between the die and the planchette at the moment of striking, leaving behind fascinating impressions, voids, or textures that make every coin unique. And examples of 1992 D cents struck through grease can feature missing or blurred elements such as the mint mark or parts of the motto, creating further appeal among error coin enthusiasts. And if the foreign object left a visible impression or outline, such as a wire-shaped void or string pattern, it only adds to the intrigue and collectible nature of the piece. And another error that boosts the value of 1992 D cents are misaligned dies, where either the obverse or reverse die is slightly out of alignment during striking, resulting in coins that appear tilted or partially off-center. And in extreme cases where the date remains fully visible but the design is shifted significantly, such coins can command hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on condition and degree of misalignment. And all of this adds up to a coin that is essentially a goldmine in copper-plated zinc, because each of these era types is rare and valuable on its own, but when they occur in combinations, or when one is found on the already ultra-rare close AM reverse variety, they push the coin into a completely different level of value, to the point where private collectors and institutions are willing to pay 7 or even 8 figures to acquire a specimen, especially if it's graded by a top-tier service like PCGS or NGC in MS66 red or higher, and such examples are nearly impossible to find today in raw circulation, meaning if one were to surface, it could easily set a new record for the most valuable modern Lincoln cent ever sold. And what's most amazing is that many people still have these coins hiding in old coin jars, rolls, or family piggy banks, unaware that a $65 million treasure could be sitting right under their noses. And this is why knowledge is power in coin collecting, because with the right tools, a magnifying glass, a good light source, a scale, and an understanding of what to look for, anyone can become a treasure hunter in their own home. And the 1992 D cent teaches us that even in a year that seems ordinary, even in a mint that struck billions of coins, the potential for something extraordinarily valuable to emerge is always present. And that's what makes the hobby so endlessly exciting. So whether you're a seasoned numismatist or a curious beginner, never overlook your pocket change, always check those pennies, and especially be on the lookout for that elusive 1992 D close AM reverse, because it might just be the coin that changes your life forever. A tiny copper disc with a tale of mechanical error, historical transition, and unimaginable worth. And as long as we keep our eyes open and our minds curious, the next great discovery might not be buried in a distant field or hidden in an old chest but sitting quietly in a handful of change waiting for you to notice.